Editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eden fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry. If it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110. You are now tuned into the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and our very special regular contributor, Dr. Wilmer Leon, political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was a lecturer in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
As always, it is a pleasure. Greetings to you and to your audience.
Dr. Leon, I am so grateful and so looking forward to discussing with you how and why Donald Trump is redirecting money at the National Park Service to pay for his 250th celebration, a fight in the Rose Garden, or the rear of the White House, if you will, along with a number of other improvement projects in Washington, but it comes at the expense of the National Park Service. Also, I'm looking forward to our conversation about Scott Seeley, I believe it is. Pelley, yes, Scott Pelley, and his release from 60 Minutes and what that means for the First Amendment. But I'd like to get your initial insight in this, the briefest segment of our show, on California, the elections last night, the turnout across the country, and whether or not it has met your expectations. Dr. Leon.
Has it met my well, from the data that I've been seeing, looking at Los Angeles and looking at other areas, the turnout is lower than anticipated. And that, on one level, for me, that is surprising because of all that is at stake. But it's not surprising in that I say this all the time, and folks, I guess, Wilmer, why do you keep saying this? I don't hear, first of all, the Democrats aren't operating as an opposition party. They're operating as the alternative or as the other party. They are not operating as a opposition party. I don't hear them clearly articulating to people why they need to turn out to vote. And so I want to say the numbers in Los Angeles were below 35%, which with all that has happened in Los Angeles with the fires and all of these other types of things, that to me is shocking.
I think you're right. And I think even though Javier Becerra seems to have made it beyond the initial threshold and will be, because of the race being a nonpartisan race, well positioned within the governor's race. And obviously our support of Karen Bass remains solid and remains strong. From my perspective, she's done an extraordinary job as mayor of Los Angeles. She too has made it through the threshold. But there are also some surprises, including a Republican MAGA candidate in the city of Los Angeles who made it, I guess, past the threshold as well. Correct. Since it's a nonpartisan election, which suggests that the messaging for the anti-Democrat or the anti-incumbent could very well be a factor in the general election this coming November. And if California does anything, which it does better than most states in the union, given the timing, is they set the trend for what's taking place and could take place across the country. Dark money still seems to be very pervasive in these campaigns. And interestingly enough, Democratic Party national leadership through dark money, their hands are beginning to reveal themselves as, on the one hand, arguing for stronger progressive cases and even trying to add an alternative, if you will, to the regime of Donald John Trump. But then on the other hand, you see them putting their finger on the scale in the Democratic primary process, a process that should be open, that should allow multiple voices, and trying to rally those voices back behind a so-called Democratic nominee in the general election becomes more and more difficult after the fractious nature of what takes place in the primary process. Dr. Leon, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and to our listeners, we'll be coming forward with Wealthy Wednesdays and Worldwide with Dr. Leon when we come forward. A number of critical issues going on in the country. We'll be discussing them right here, right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
To 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man. Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog Walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like nuclear reactor safety expert.
I disabled the backup cooling system. It was making such an annoying noise. You heard it, right? It was like,
We're on a countdown to core failure.
And you're saying we don't want that?
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Jackson Jr. Show. King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Dr. Leon, the Trump administration is redirecting at least $90 million in National Park Service fee revenue towards projects in Washington, D.C. tied to the nation's 250th anniversary on July 4th. According to the Washington Post, the spending includes a $1.6 million fireworks display, more than 5 times the typical 4th of July fireworks budget, and roughly $76 million for repairs and beautification projects, such as work on the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. Doc, the administration seems to be struggling with some of its basic priorities in Washington, and nothing could be more evidence than the July 4th celebration. That a number of artists, by the way, are pulling out of some of the president's shows and some of the propaganda that he seeks to advance on this coming July 4th.
That last point, I think, is incredibly telling. The fact that this Festival 250 or whatever they're calling it, they came out with this list of performers, most of whom have now come out and said either A, we didn't sign on to this to begin with, or B, this was not how it was being presented to us initially, and we're now not going to participate. When Milli Vanilli doesn't want to show, that tells you
it's either Millie or Vanilli, because the other one's out of here.
That's a bad. It's not as though they've got 55 dates set up in the next 52 days. So that's a bad indicator. Also, I think it's interesting that the story talks about how they're diverting money, because I think that is a demonstration that they don't want to go to Congress for appropriation. What they're trying to do, and you would be much better able to clarify this and explain this than I, with your history in Congress, they're taking money that's already been allocated and they're moving it to other places, instead of going back to Congress to get approval. And it could very well be because they're afraid if they try to do that, the resistance that they're going to meet is going to call more attention to this fiasco than they really want.
There is a provision. The money's actually coming from a portion of Park Service entrance fees that the federal law allows the National Park Service to spend outside of the parks where the fees were collected. Trump administration officials, including Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, have defended the spending as legal and part of a broader effort to prepare the nation's capital for Donald Trump's 250th celebrations. But diverting dollars to D.C. will have negative impacts on the rest of the National Park Service system, which faces a maintenance backlog estimated at about $24 billion. And the president plans to spend $76 million on a single event for a single day in the District of Columbia. A real priority problem.
And here's something that I think a lot of people need to understand, especially those that may not frequent or have not frequented national parks. And that is, there's an awful lot of maintenance that has to go into keeping those natural areas natural. So when you're hiking on trails, those trails have to be maintained. If you go to Yosemite and you want to climb Half Dome, that cabling apparatus, if it's still there, that I used when I was a kid to climb Half Dome, you slip on that and you fall to your death. You slip off some of these trails and you tumble into broken bones, concussions, and other types of mayhem, where they now have to send in helicopters to extricate you from your fall. These are serious situations that have to be properly maintained, and failing to do so puts tourists in jeopardy.
Dr. Leon, before we go to 60 Minutes, there's a breaking series of stories coming out of Florida's 20th district where, as a result of redistricting, the district formerly held by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who I served with in the Congress, has largely been redrawn. And recently she announced that she is running for Congress not in the newly drawn district that she has represented for years. She announced that she is moving and running into a district that has a leading African-American candidate in all of the polls. And Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic caucus in Congress, has not supported or suggested that he's going to support Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but presently is remaining out of it. And apparently there is resistance from African-Americans within Congress who are asking why one of our allies, who happens to be Jewish, Debbie Wasserman Schultz happens to be Jewish, would be running in a congressional district that could leave Florida with only one representative in Congress who is African American, when in fact there is an African American running in that district who is leading in all polls. Now that matters because Debbie Wasserman Schultz has the power and the influence to literally bring tens of millions of dollars into that congressional district and essentially paint for the voters in that district a picture of herself, a picture of her representation, something that I experienced in my own race recently for Congress. I spent $282,000. I had been leading in 6 different polls, including polls run and led by my opposition in the race. But in the last 2.5, maybe 3 months, more than $8 million in outside money, essentially took an unknown candidate, painted a picture of me across social media, and painted a wonderful picture of the unknown candidate who was successful in the race against me in that race. We are seeing these competitions emerge between African Americans and our allies in the Democratic caucus that is going to lead to a fissure and a friction, if you will, on a scale within the Democratic Party that we haven't seen in a generation. Your thoughts about Debbie Wasserman Schultz moving into an all-black district, essentially a large black district, to be its representative?
Well, first of all, as we talk about this disenfranchising candidates, I'll call it, we always have to remember Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, because this was done to her when she was in Georgia. So the redistricting, the map redrawing, the gerrymandering to dispossess black voters, we've been screaming about Republicans doing this to attack the Voting Rights Amendment. So what's the difference between what the Republicans have done with redistricting as it relates to black candidates and what Debbie Wasserman Schultz is now doing as a Democrat?
I don't know the difference. I
because
can't.
There is none.
There is.
There is none. So so you talked about an alliance. Well, what's the basis of the alliance? And I'm not asking that as a rhetorical question. I'm asking that for people to seriously sit down and ask themselves, what's the basis of the alliance? Because obviously, let's just say she's down with us until she ain't with us. She's down with us until it actually now becomes to her advantage not to be.
And it's as if she can speak at the end of Second Reconstruction on issues that are politically pertinent to black people at a time when the government itself has turned its back on the progress of black people. The idea that you know what we need or what we want or that what we desire You have more knowledge of it than our own very capable candidate who's been articulating his message across the congressional district, earning the support of preachers and unions and others, and you're bringing this massive outside cachet, largely made possible by Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision that lets this money come into these campaigns in these poor districts from outside influence. And I find at some point in time it's insulting. We don't do that. There's no black person in America who's running for Congress in a predominantly white or Jewish district in the country where this is happening. We just don't target them to get to Congress. We don't do it, but we get regularly targeted by our brothers and sisters who have also in their history experienced slave systems.
It's also a demonstration of the practical as well as the philosophical realities of white privilege. To your point, if this had been done in your district, you couldn't just pick up and go someplace else and say, I'm going to run here now. There are financial there are realities that would prevent you from a practical perspective from being able to do that. And what in the world makes you think you could? So there's a mindset here. Oh, I'll just pick up and move here to this black district. I'm going to displace the black candidate from that district because I'm in jeopardy on my home turf.
That's doesn't get any clearer than that. I'd like to read Scott Pelley's statement regarding 60 Minutes in its entirety. And of course, when we come forward, I would love to hear Dr. Leon's insight. Scott Pelley writes, there's never been anything in America like 60 Minutes. The Sunday tradition is the most successful program of any kind in history. For more than a decade, its innovative growth on every major online platform has extended to reach to countless millions around the world. This spring, at the end of the 58th season, 60 Minutes grew rapidly with an unheard of 9% jump of viewers on CBS. 60 Minutes has been the #1 program in America for decades because our beloved audience finds integrity, quality, and humanity in our stories. When stewardship of the program passed to my colleagues and me, our responsibility was to expand energetically into a new age of media technology while preserving the values our audience expects. Now the new owner of our network is casting this legend aside, apparently to curry favor, a moment of favor with the Trump administration. The waste is heartbreaking. Last month, 60 Minutes lost its DNA when our entire senior leadership and 2 of our best on-air correspondents were cruelly fired without cause. Good people were silenced because they stood up for our audience. They stood for fairness against the forces of political bias. They stood for professionalism against chaos. For my part, new management has instructed me to inject falsehoods and bias into politically sensitive stories. I've been told to include assertions that are unverified. To date, in every case, I've managed to ignore these instructions or refused them. Recently, politicians have been invited to choose correspondents for interviews on the broadcast. Giving politicians control over 60-minute interviews is not how this is done. Finally, incompetence and unprofessionalism in the new management have wreaked havoc. In a case involving one of my stories, the entire program came within 19 minutes of not getting on air at all. At 60 Minutes, we fought harder than anyone knows to save the program that became an American icon. We owe that to millions of viewers. I'm deeply moved by the thousands of wishes we've received to keep up the good fight. Most of the men and women of CBS News are still in that fight, but now the collapse of values at the top has become untenable. The leadership of 60 Minutes is no longer recognizable. The principles I hold dear are gone, and so I must leave as well. Dr. Leon, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, Dr. Wilmer Leon is going to give us some insights, his insights, on what happened at CBS and 60 Minutes. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Newark, New Jersey is lifting a curfew outside the Delaney Hall ICE Detention Center after calmer nights following weekend clashes.
They limited inspections, which by virtue of that does not give them the right to be open.
Black Mayor Ras Baraka says the city is expanding its lawsuit against the facility's operator over health and safety concerns. The state is also suing for a full inspection while federal officials deny allegations of inhumane conditions. The U.S. Supreme Court is allowing Alabama to use a Republican-drawn congressional map in the upcoming midterms. The ruling overrides a lower court panel that said the map likely discriminates against black voters. The map allows the state to eliminate a majority black district. And a woman is behind bars after allegedly trespassing at Chris Brown's home in California. Police say she was caught hopping over a gate Tuesday evening but did not enter the house. Brown was not home at the time. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher. Both for just $5 only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Basketball fans in New York City have waited 27 years for tonight, the chance to see their Knicks in the NBA Finals. The Knicks and San Antonio Spurs meet up tonight in Game 1. Getting to the NBA Finals is nothing new for the Spurs franchise. This is number 7 with 5 championships to show for it. Allow me to provide some perspective on this rare occasion for the Knicks franchise. The last time the Knicks made it to the NBA Finals in 1999, there were no smart TVs or iPhones. There was no social media, no Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. There was also no YouTube or Zoom, no Netflix, no Spotify, no iTunes, and not even flash drives. A lot has changed since the Knicks got this far in the NBA playoffs. In this postseason, the Knicks have won 11 straight playoff games, but the Spurs are 4.5-point favorites. 5:30 tip-off tonight in San Antonio on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavish Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who are you talking to? Second, go tell that to the black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now, not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show. Want to really jump right into the significance and the historic journalistic integrity of 60 Minutes on CBS. What does this mean, Dr. Leon?
Well, it means that independent journalism, as far as network television it goes, has just about gone the way of the dodo bird, and I use dodo for a reason. And well, first of all, for Scott Pelley to be the one crying foul here, that speaks volumes. And for him to say last month 60 Minutes lost its DNA, I believe 60 Minutes lost its DNA a couple of years ago. This didn't just happen with Barry Weiss taking over and Nick Bilton, I think, is who the new executive producer of 60 Minutes is. 60 Minutes has been lost in the wilderness for quite a while. But with that said, what I think this really demonstrates is as a couple of things. One, as network news programs are struggling with advancements in technology, losing audiences to cell phones, losing audiences to social media, losing audiences as people's attention spans are shortening. They are desperate to find ways to dumb down their coverage so that they can retain something of an audience. And I think another element of this demonstrates the power of Trump and how these networks now are trying to placate him with these mergers have to be approved and all these other things. And the audience and the truth is now becoming victimized by political expediency and business decisions.
I think that's right. My father once told me that that mass media, particularly the major networks, their power isn't just the value of the First Amendment. Their power is the value to investigate. That part right there. The power to investigate. In fact, major medium like the Washington Post, the New York Times, their true power isn't that they publish stories and educate people, is that these institutions have the power to take a half a dozen reporters, researchers, and assign them to a government official's life. And by the time they get finished combing through that life, they have the power to investigate and share with the world what's going on in that person's space. So when the billionaires own the Washington Post or the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or CBS, I remember when CBS was owned by the Tisch family and the other major networks, their power to assign a reporter to city council persons or to elected officials and just hound them the rest of their lives or for a significant period, write a story that brings it to the attention of the government. And whether the story is true or not, it establishes probable cause for a government investigation, because under the guise of credible and integrous reporting, the government has a reason to look into it with even more and infinite resources to investigate. So you may have stories that are not true that show up in the newspaper that begin the investigation, but by the time they get finished combing through your life, they find out something that you did do, to which you ultimately must pay a debt to society for. That's a fact. That's the power of the press. It isn't to educate the American people. So when you think about a person as wealthy as Jeff Bezos or as wealthy as the new owners of CBS, do they really need a newspaper? For what? They need a newspaper to get to 218 votes, to sponsor trips to the moon, to make sure that Congress is appropriating money and covering their contracts, deleting and canceling stories on the truth that they know, including the information they could release to the public, but refuse to release to the public. But they can sit around a bar behind you and a date or whomever you might be out with and cover your life from that vantage point and essentially run you out of public life. That too is a factor, I think, in the consolidation, if you will, of these major media platforms, including but not limited to the social media platforms. The power to investigate. Dr. Leon, I'm not too far off, am I?
You're not far off at all. And I would suggest that those in your audience that are really interested in this topic, get a copy of the book Propaganda by Edward Bernays. And the first chapter, Organizing Chaos, he writes, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we've never heard of. And for those who don't know, Edward Bernays is considered to be the godfather of what is known as propaganda. And in fact, Hitler's director of propaganda based a lot of his tactics on Bernays's book. So if you want to get some insight into how your thoughts are being formed, how your thoughts are being managed by the information you're either being presented or not being presented, then you might want to get a hold of Edward Bernays's book, Propaganda, and you will be able to see very clearly what Scott Pelley is telling you as it relates to 60 Minutes.
I see it and I've experienced it. Just as sure as I'm sitting here, imagine this. 24 hours after my father expired, I invited the presidents, including the sitting president, to come to my father's service. At no point in time in that service did I ever mention a president's name, other than the fact that members of my family know my father better than everyone in the audience. Give them a chance to share with you what they know about the great Jesse Jackson. For 2 weeks after that, I had to endure from bots and social media things I simply never said. But they took on a life of their own and they impacted the outcome of an election. And to respond to one was to respond to 20. And that wasn't what my campaign was about. And so I know exactly what this assault looks like. I know exactly what's about to happen in Florida's 20th congressional district. I know exactly what's going to happen in these mayoral campaigns coming in the next season of elections beyond the midterms. I know exactly what's coming, including but not limited to, even in the Karen Bass race, one of the opponents donned a outfit as Batman and turned her into some kind of caricature of herself in the campaign. She's done nothing to deserve that or to earn that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm listening at KBLA Talk 1580. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
LADWP customers get rebates up to $1,500 when you install a qualified electric vehicle charger at your home. It's like having a gas station in your garage. Get extra savings when you combine LADWP rebates with federal tax credits on chargers installed before June 30th. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to kbla1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are living in an era of misinformation, and I am particularly honored that just one of the great truth tellers in the first quarter of the 21st century is our regular contributing host on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Wilmer Leon, first and foremost, how can we support your work and how can we get your book? Tell us a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about Iran.
Well, Politics, Another Perspective. You can find it at Amazon. Thank you very much for putting that up there. It's a collection of op-eds that I wrote over about a 10 to 12 year period. The subtitle, Commentary and Analysis on Race, War, Ethics, and the American Political Landscape in the Age of Obama. Even though it references the age of Obama, the book is still, I think, incredibly evergreen and worth reading. And you can tune into Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM 126 Saturdays from 11 to 2 Eastern.
Dr. Leon, let me ask you a question. We have about 7 minutes before we come forward, and I always, of course, like to leave a final word of hope for this week from you. Your thoughts on what's going on between Donald Trump, the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, and whether or not a peace deal is possible between the United States and Iran that would leave Netanyahu out of the equation altogether. It seems impossible, given the nature of how this particular project began.
It does seem impossible because Israel is determined to control the region, and they are determined to, their words not mine, exterminate the Palestinians and to weaken Iran and Lebanon to the point to where, in the minds of the Zionists in the colony, they no longer feel threatened. So long as that is the stated objective of the settler colony known as Israel, then you can't negotiate that away. So if that's the underlying premise of their reality, that you can't compromise that. In their mind, you can't negotiate that away. So unless Donald Trump is willing to tell Netanyahu the United States is turning off the spigot of funding and you will no longer receive weapons to support your genocidal objective, then I think the answer to your question is no. And the word I was focusing on there was peace. If it's peace you're looking for, then the answer is no.
Is it possible for Trump to enter into a deal with Iran while Israel is still conducting operations in Lebanon and in the Gaza Strip? Is that a lasting peace, or is that just the absence of American noise?
That is the latter. And Iran clearly understands that the United States can't be trusted, which is why Iran is focused on an MOU, not a lasting quote unquote peace deal, because the last two attempts at this wound up with missiles being sent and killing negotiators when Iran thought that the process was actually, coming to some type of fruition. And so they're saying, well, let's take this slowly. Let's see if you can deliver on some simple things in the short term before we try to establish some long-term deal, because your history in this game is a bad history. And that's not my opinion. I mean, you just have to, if you understand the reality, that's the reality. Donald Trump is not in control of this game. As much as he thinks he is, as much as he likes to proclaim that he is, and as much as Western media likes to write as though he is, the United States is not in control of this game.
Dr. Leon is our very special and regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He is an author, he is a scholar, a professor, an intimate thinker on African-American politics and government. So grateful that he's a regular contributor. Dr. Leon, it's been a rough week. Can you share with our listeners a word of hope?
Let me try a word of encouragement. There is an opportunity as we look at these midterm elections and as we move towards November of 2026, that through participating in the voting process, some power can be flexed. But people have to be given something to vote for, not just being told that Donald Trump is an idiot. We know that. He tells us that every day. We know he's a racist. We know all of that. So I don't understand why the Democrats didn't use these midterms as the preseason. Let's use this yesterday as the preseason for November. Let's practice getting the vote out. Let's determine how we're going to function moving forward, instead of just laying back thinking, oh, well, when the dust settles from the midterms, then we'll go into full gear. There's a reason the NFL has preseason games. There's a reason the NBA has preseason games. There's a reason Major League Baseball has preseason games. They need to treat this as the preseason, or else they may not wind up with the gains that they are anticipating when the season actually starts. That is my suggestion, my sense of encouragement.
Dr. Leon, I'm so grateful that you have spent this wonderful time with us, and can't wait again until next week when we hear more of your insightful leadership. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. A word of encouragement from Dr. Wilmer Leon. We've covered a number of critical issues that confront our nation. California, it was an election yesterday, and you're the bellwether. How California goes is how the rest of the country is going to go. We're going to have to spend some serious time determining what it's going to take to get us to understand the importance of this hour in terms of participating in the voting process. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know if it's just candidates on the line or if it's just business as usual, or we're going to need an aggressive effort amongst all of us to stop tyranny. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Newark, New Jersey is lifting a curfew outside the Delaney Hall ICE Detention Center after calmer nights following weekend clashes.
They limited inspections, which by virtue of that does not give them the right to be.
Black Mayor Ras Baraka says the city is expanding its lawsuit against the facility's operator over health and safety concerns. The state is also suing for a full inspection while federal officials deny allegations of inhumane conditions. The U.S. Supreme Court is allowing Alabama to use a Republican-drawn congressional map in the upcoming midterms. The ruling overrides a lower court panel that said the map likely discriminates against black voters. The map allows the state to eliminate a majority black district. And a woman is behind bars after allegedly trespassing at Chris Brown's home in California. Police say she was caught hopping over a gate Tuesday evening but did not enter the house. Brown was not home at the time. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher. Both for just $5 only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Basketball fans in New York City have waited 27 years for tonight, the chance to see their Knicks in the NBA Finals. The Knicks and San Antonio Spurs meet up tonight in Game 1. Getting to the NBA Finals is nothing new for the Spurs franchise. This is number 7 with 5 championships to show for it. Allow me to provide some perspective on this rare occasion for the Knicks franchise. The last time the Knicks made it to the NBA Finals in 1999, there were no smart TVs or iPhones. There was no social media, no Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. There was also no YouTube or Zoom, no Netflix, no Spotify, no iTunes, and not even flash drives. A lot has changed since the Knicks got this far in the NBA playoffs. In this postseason, the Knicks have won 11 straight playoff games, but the Spurs are 4.5-point favorites. 5:30 tip-off tonight in San Antonio on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly 14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another 13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eden fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I'm very excited that Dr. Wilmer Leon is going to stay with us for this session of the show. Dr. Leon, I have a question for you in light of the election in California last night and the editorial that I just heard from Brother Farr criticizing the governor of California and essentially asking him the political question, where is the beef when it comes to the Altadena fires and the other fires that have taken place that have profoundly impacted our community. I'm wondering, of the Democratic candidates, let's go down a few of them, who amongst them, from your perspective, can inspire the kind of voter registration, voter participation, voter engagement that we experienced in 2008 with Barack Obama? Let us start at the very top. Kamala Harris, your thoughts, Dr. Leon.
To do what?
Inspire voter registration, participation on a scale that we haven't seen before.
To do what? I mean, what's she going to do? I mean,
win the Democratic nomination in 270 electorals.
Oh my goodness.
That has to be the goal.
No, I don't see where that comes from based upon her past. She ran in what, 16, and was it 16 and was the first one out, was the first Democrat out. She couldn't even get past the first month, I don't think. No, ran a horrible campaign, and folks need to put this mythology to rest about it was angry black men that didn't vote for her. Show me some data to support that, please. And if you can't show me any data to support it, can you stop it? Because that's mythology. So no, no.
We are in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Yuri and our regular contributor.
Let me just quickly make this point, and then I'm gonna yield to a much bigger brain than mine. And that is it has to start at the party. You asked me about candidates. It has to start at the party. What is the message of the party? And then that will filter down to the candidates. And because they can't figure out what it is they need to do, nobody else has a message to articulate. And to that, I yield my time. I don't reclaim my time. I yield my time to a greater mind than mine.
Let me give Dr. Yuri an appropriate introduction. Dr. S. Todd Yuri is the principal of the Yuri Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. His social justice work includes being the executive director of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Social justice work also includes past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP and a board member of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021. Dr. Yuri, I'm asking this question. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward, but a good use of our time in light of the turnout that we are experiencing, which in many cases is not going beyond 30% of the vote in the various states, with all of the threats to democracy that we've been hearing about. We still have an inspiration to motivation problem. The question I raised of Dr. Leon is, who amongst the Democratic candidates who could inspire the kind of voter registration, participation, and engagement that we experienced in 2008? I mentioned first Kamala Harris, and you heard Dr. Leon's response. I'm going to go down all these candidates in a minute since we're all together. Dr. Yuri, your thoughts initially on Kamala Harris. Can't you do it?
Well, before I get to that, my initial thought is when our beloved producer reached out to make sure I was good to go, she conveniently omitted that Dr. Wilmer Leon was going to be on the show with me. So at the end of the day, look, these are the games y'all playing today. So all right, I already know what it's going to be. Listen, I don't look for any politician. You pick somebody on the list. Having a politician inspire a people's-based movement is not only counterintuitive, it's the fullest expression of cognitive dissonance that I can think of. The issue of voter registration is to participate in a process. It's not tied to some party loyalty. It is tied to the principles of the agenda. And so the party doesn't set the people's agenda. The people set the agenda for the party. And so it is for the people to find their inspiration, their motivation, their activation and participation in this process. And then let everybody then say, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, we don't care. This is the agenda that we see going forward. This is where it aligns with what you see for your needs, your community. Now let's have a conversation about how we move forward.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk. We are in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, and holding over from the last hour, grateful that he's here, Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God.
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Yeah, man.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like nuclear reactor safety expert.
I disabled the backup cooling system. It was making such an annoying noise. You heard it, right? It was like,
We're on a countdown to core failure.
And you're saying we don't want that?
This is a job for sponsored jobs.
This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, the principal of the Yeary firm. He's a civil rights attorney and public policy advocate, along with none other than Dr. Wilmer Leon, who was with us in the first hour. I want to get through these candidates, Dr. Yeary, if you don't mind, because, you know, I do think people are inspired by people to run and to participate. Yes, I get the movement, but the movement, is it the man? Is it the plan? Is it the map? Is it the rap? Hey, I get the map. but the rap does matter. Not either or, both and. I get it ain't the man, it's the plan. It's the man with the plan, because we get one vote for the man or the woman to implement the plan, if in fact they are elected in our democracy. And so there is this synchronicity, if you will, between the candidate, the inspiration. I'm being told by the people of California that Javier Becerra, who I had the privilege of serving with in the Congress of the United States, that he is the man of the hour in the state of California. Of course, the final tally of all of the votes will take some time to come in. But Becerra statewide, I need 270 electoral votes out of California to regain the presidency. I need a significant number from that state and other states around the country. If we lose California, there is no doubt whatsoever in my mind that we do not win the presidency in 2028. We can't afford to lose the state. So if we're talking about 30% turnout in the primary, and if we can't get to 60, 65%, 75% in the general election in the state of California, and be in that space by 2028 under Mr. Becerra's leadership, or in the state of Illinois, or in the state of Georgia, if we can't get to these numbers, then it's a foregone conclusion that the person with the most votes simply will not be the president of the United States. So let's go to Gavin Newsom. What states do you think Gavin Newsom can win to get to 270? Dr. Uri?
Well, I don't know which states he can win. We know which states he has to win, right? Which then informs what the agenda conversation needs to be. All politics being somewhat local, you're not going to necessarily have one uniform national message that satisfies everybody on the ground, right? So if we think about first local, then state, then maybe kind of regional politics, if we look at how the markets work in America, you have at-will states, typically in the South. You have unionized states, typically in the North. Your labor conversation is going to be somewhat distinct, right? Who's going to have the ability to speak to the labor issues across those kinds of distinctions and do it credibly? Because arguably, some might say that those two positions might be a bit in tension. Who speaks to the economic reality of folks on the ground, be they rural or urban, be they issues around international policies such as immigration, right? And so a lot of this comes from one understanding what the issues are, right? This is, I spent a lot of time with your father. After a while, you believe anybody that spent time with your dad believed that they could be a rapper in their heyday, because no one could string a memorable context of a message like your dad, right? The Rainbow Coalition was the ability to bring folks together whose immediate concerns, some of them were in a very delicate but necessary tension. And so it allowed them to find a space of common ground without being handicapped by the notion that we had to be unanimous on every issue. And so who has the ability to be a convener of distinct thought and different perspectives and still carve out an agenda that brings folks together? Does he have that potential by way of maybe charisma or otherwise? Possibly. But that's where I kind of draw it, right? Winning California, but appealing in Georgia, those two things may not necessarily be the same. New York, to get its electoral college votes, is not going to be the same as trying to put North Carolina, right, which is kind of purplish these days, in play. And so whoever is on that list has to be able to credibly speak to the authentic needs of the constituency without appearing to pander for the sake of political expediency.
So let me be the devil's advocate.
That's it.
Let me be the devil's advocate. And this, I hope, for the listeners, does not is not taken as an anti-Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. critique. I think I've earned the right to be able to offer a critique. Because I think in 1984 and 1988, the moral standard that Jesse Jackson set on all of those critical issues was correct. I was not afforded, nor were my brothers, to be the first sons of the President of the United States, because in order to do that, Dad would have needed 270 electoral votes. Not just a popular movement that was morally correct and right, but 270 electoral votes. With all that we give Reverend credit for, which includes moving the South Carolina primary, the diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Democratic Party, the most registered voters, we never got, the Reverend Jesse Jackson never made it to 270. And so by falling short on the 270, which is a difficult critique because I'm all in on everything, Dad. I was very much a part of it. No one surrogated for my father across this country more than I did. So I'm not going to debate that with anybody in my family or anybody in the public. It's just not the truth that anyone can argue they spoke more for Jesse Jackson than I did. It's just not true. I did. Now, with that said, we still need 270 electoral votes. And so any of these other candidates who just are morally correct and courageous, who are not speaking to the needs of rural America in these red states and toggling together, for example, the states that Obama toggled together, which included, for example, the state of Indiana. Been a minute since we won that one. He toggled with that the state of Georgia. He toggled for the first time in a generation the state of Florida to become part of the coalition to get to 270 electoral votes. So I'm not asking a question about moral clarity. I'm asking a question, can J.B. Pritzker, can Pete Buttigieg, can the governor of Kentucky, can Gavin Newsom, can any of the candidates who are running for president or even touting the idea of running for president pull together 270 electoral votes? Again, not a popularity contest, but an electoral contest. Because remember, Bush v. Gore showed us the truth, that you can get the most popular votes and still lose. And I'm not interested in losing. So I need to know from your perspective, amongst those who've been mentioned, whose popular movement, whose messaging beyond their personalities is doing the work in the states for the 270?
Yeah. I don't hear a name that I would automatically exclude, but you raise an interesting point. The election for president is not a single election. It is 50 statewide elections to select electors to be the voice of those 50 distinct communities in an electoral process that gets to 270, right? So in this process, we've got to be real clear on the rules of monopoly. We elect in a presidential election and elect the electors by choosing a preferred candidate, right? So the candidate that most fits the profile that you listed should be the candidate that has the best message capacity plan to reach that broad and diverse, distinct group of 50 state interests, some of them common, some of them not, and do it in a way where we don't get what we got last time. And here's what we saw in 2016 and again in 2024. We saw the common message was, I'm going to lower your prices. Sounds good broadly, short on specifics. Now we're feeling the pain. We've seen that dog before. We don't need another dog race to see that again. Who can say to, we are part of the Great Migration. I've got family members very near and dear to me in the Deep South. I've got family members in the urban North. Their experiences are very different. Who can speak to all of my family, not just a segment of the family, to their existential needs in a way that represents? So I don't rule anybody out just yet. we have a conversation and are open to hearing from all of them, and then let their not just their moral clarity, but their policy clarity, the policy precision, inform our decision. And that is, before we have that conversation, going a little further upstream, is has the family sat down to be clear on what do we want from a candidate. It shouldn't be that the candidate comes and tells us what we want, what we need. We ought to come at least clear on that and say, here's the demand and the expectation, what say ye? And whoever fits best in responding to that, you get our support.
Let me throw something out at you, because I'm old enough to remember when Reagan began his campaign in 1979 in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and the Signal, Philadelphia, Mississippi, known for nothing, not a labor union, not the LGBTQ, not Black Power, known for none of that, it's where Swerner Goodman and Cheney were pulled out of a river. And it was so clear that Reagan never had to say anything other than, I'm starting my campaign here. And the Ku Klux Klan endorsed Ronald Reagan on the same day. In fact, when Reagan came to Chicago, my father insisted on meeting with him to ask him, did he understand the signal that he sent when he did that? And of course, Reagan acted as if he did not know. The architects of that particular strategy have been written about ad nauseum. Now, we fell in love with Bill Clinton over the 8 years of Bill Clinton's presidency, but I'm old enough to remember Ricky Ray Rector and the lobotomization and execution of a Black man who had half of a brain, I guess, after some kind of injury. He was lobotomized. And I was sitting there when Bill Clinton, in front of Jesse Jackson, took on Sister Souljah, which sent shockwaves through the Black community, challenging youth and challenging our young people and their First Amendment rights to say what they want to say through rap, through communication, through teaching and instruction in ways that only they knew how to do. And I was there when Bill Clinton took a strong position on 3 strikes and you're out before he was president of the United States. I remember it. Another signal to Bubba that if I become president, I'm not going to cater to Jesse Jackson and his interests. That was the signal that he sent in order to get to 270 electoral votes. Now, just as sure as I'm sitting here and I'm probing here, it seems to me, with all that we have lost since Donald Trump's first term and everything that we're losing in Donald Trump's second term, that in order to get the 270 electoral votes, there's going to be some Democrat who's going to say something or do something that's going to irritate the hell out of us. And because we have nowhere else to go, we've got to stick with them or stick with her, no matter what. Because in order to get Bubba, who's hypersensitive on the questions of race and the signals of race that Reagan has demonstrated, that Donald Trump has clearly shown us that he is capable of using, and the Republican Party is capable of using, that Democrat is going to have to come with an angle on the 270 that is going to make a billy goat puke. And at the same time, we have nowhere to go. That's a fact. That's a political reality and a fact that I'm willing to stake my career on. Well, what's left of it. Dr. Uri?
I'll give you this as an analogy. Growing up in my mama's house, mama controlled the house and the kitchen. Every Sunday was a special dinner. You only ate at mama's table. You weren't going anywhere else. Some Sundays, the main entree was something I liked. Didn't necessarily care for the stuff that went through it. She sometimes put green peas on the plate, not my favorite thing. But there was always something, whether it was the main course or maybe one of what we now call the sides, that helped me to know that there was something that spoke to me, right, my priorities. Because I can't get up from this table. The options are either you're going to eat this or you're going to go without. We don't have that same kind of structural issue. What we've found ourselves in is a dependence on a party by a presumed loyalty based on a very narrow window of history where there were certain pieces of legislation that were advanced, to now say we're stuck. And I
I'm
don't
Jesse
believe that's
Jackson
the
Jr.
case.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. S. Todd Urey when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Plans for a U.S. Ebola quarantine unit in Kenya are facing local opposition. Hundreds protested outside the military air base where the 50-bed unit would be housed.
And it was a very unruly crowd.
Kenya's High Court has paused the project until a hearing later this month while President William Ruto defends the proposal. Black congressional candidates in South Florida may unite behind one challenger to take on Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz in District 20. 4 Black Democrats met this week to discuss whether 3 should drop out and back one candidate to improve their chances in the primary. In the music world this morning, the loss of Peabo Bryson. His family confirmed the legendary singer died late Tuesday afternoon, just days after suffering a stroke. Bryson was best known for songs like A Whole New World and Beauty and the Beast. The 75-year-old was born in Greenville, South Carolina, and attended segregated Beck High School before launching his music career. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour, weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings, paired with a premium beverage drink, like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher, both for just $5, only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Basketball fans in New York City have waited 27 years for tonight, the chance to see their Knicks in the NBA Finals. The Knicks and San Antonio Spurs meet up tonight in Game 1. Getting to the NBA Finals is nothing new for the Spurs franchise. This is number 7 with 5 championships to show for it. Allow me to provide some perspective on this rare occasion for the Knicks franchise. The last time the Knicks made it to the NBA Finals in 1999, there were no smart TVs or iPhones. There was no social media, no Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. There was also no YouTube or Zoom, no Netflix, no Spotify, no iTunes, and not even flash drives. A lot has changed since the Knicks got this far in the NBA playoffs. In this postseason, the Knicks have won 11 straight playoff games, but the Spurs are 4.5-point favorites. 5:30 tip-off tonight in San Antonio on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who you talking to? Second, go tell that to the Black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now, not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Bobby. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special regular contributor, the politics of our faith, with none other than the Honorable Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, Esquire. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You cooking with hot grease today, man. Let me just tell you.
Man, it's the only way to fry a good piece of chicken, man. Only way to fry a good piece of chicken with hot grease. Hey, let's dig a little deeper into this. There are 54 electoral college votes from the state of California. 54 of our 270. And since the electoral college vote is a winner-take-all vote, we have to win the popular vote in the state of California because we need those 54 electoral votes to get to 270. I can't even imagine a scenario where Democrats in 2028 regain control of the White House without the state of California. It's impossible. There's no math in these contiguous United States that gets us to what that one state can provide, but we may be looking at a voter turnout that is under 30% in the primary process. What does that say to you, Dr. Yeary?
Well, it says a couple of things, right? When I look at historical data,
primary participation is always beneath general election,
Right.
right? So it's really the choice of who's going to be the horse that gets entered in the real race, right? So it's really you're talking to. It's like going to choir rehearsal, and everybody's wearing the same robe. Not a big deal.
So the candidate does matter. So the man and the plan, the map and the rap, the map and the rap have to come together. The plan and the man or the woman have to all come together in one person to win the state, like Reagan.
To win the primary, right? That's one audience. To win the general, that's a broader audience. Okay. If the internal conversation is so closed that we're really not all that invested in who's going to come forward, that's a challenge. But then we get somebody we don't particularly care for, and that apathy carries over to the general election. We come away with sometimes these very curious thoughts like, my vote doesn't matter. At the end of the day, simply because we don't like the rules does not mean that the game's still going to get played. And if we don't understand how the game affects us, boycotting, putting on your uniform and getting on the floor makes you a spectator.
Yeah.
That means you bought a ticket to your oppression. So part of this is there's the primary fight, kind of internal. Then there's the general election fight where let's just, Democrat, you tend to swing left for the primary. You try to move back a little bit toward the center, as close to the center without abandoning the left as possible, because you have this middle group that really doesn't care about party affiliation. We call them independents. And so they're going to get the conversation when the tally takes on a different form. And if you think about it, Republicans are to the right for the primary. Now you got to figure out how do you come back to the center if you're going to appeal to the independents who's like, look, I'm not getting in that. That's like a family argument. I just live in the neighborhood. I'm not trying to get into your family drama. But when you come out and we have a broader conversation about how it affects the community, what does that conversation look like? And so I've often thought recently, when we've had these discussions over the years about should we have a third party, I'm not sure that gets you where you want to go. That just means that you're participating in the same process, leaving yourself distinct. But when I consider the Kerner report and leveraging, though we're not the majority, we have the ability to swing the outcome of an election. How do we, maybe our fight is not the left-right, pendulum swing. Once they finish that food fight in the cafeteria, and we now have to have an adult conversation about an agenda, because that agenda going into the general has implications for everybody. How do we make sure that in that conversation, though we are not dominant, right, we are determinative in terms of our block, maybe that then helps us to get more into the participation, voter registration, engagement, participation outcomes, even as they keep changing the rules. We're going to keep coming.
In this moment, I can't imagine a scenario one where 54 electoral votes from California are not won by Democrats in 2028, and we expect to win the White House without them. There's no numbers that equal that math. Number two, I almost in this moment can't imagine a scenario where Gavin Newsom, or if Javier Becerra is fortunate enough to be elected governor of the state, where one of them is not a major player in or at the top or as a participant in the ticket, because we need that 54. And I can't imagine a scenario where we get to Washington without at least a southern state or picking up another Midwestern state. I just can't imagine the scenario. And when I look at the candidates and I think about the name recognition of Becerra now and the name recognition of Newsom in California, what it would cost for Pete Buttigieg or any of the other candidates to have the same name recognition that both of these men presently enjoy in California, an absolutely necessary part of the 270. I don't see how they get there. I just don't see how they get there. Now, that might sound like something that is a luxurious conversation, but you and I have lived long enough to know that the presidency is not a popularity contest. It's an electoral vote contest. And if we're not going to use these airwaves to educate people on how critical and how important California is to the future destiny of democracy, then we're wasting time ourselves. And if you can hear our voices on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, or the 110, 30% voter turnout is not enough. It just isn't enough. It's not enough to get us there. And you could win the popular vote if everybody in California, the state of Illinois, the state of New York, and the state of Pennsylvania, and one or two other states voted for the Democrat. If everyone in those states, you could probably win the popular vote by 15 or 20 million votes, and you still wouldn't be president of the United States, because it's not a popular vote contest. It is a contest that also takes into account geography, and where those votes come from are a factor in this process. And so, yeah, after last night, I'm trying to handicap this race. I do know that the future of the Democratic Party has something to do with Gavin Newsom, and it definitely has something to do with Javier Becerra. We won't know what it has to do with Javier Becerra until the general election this coming November. And that will be another determination, because if there is a Republican governor that comes from the state, we're going to have some profound problems going into 2028. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Geary. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Medicare Fraud Prevention Week focuses on the actions everyone can take to prevent Medicare fraud, errors, and abuse. Learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones by joining the Senior Medicare Patrol, or SMP, for Medicare Fraud Prevention Week, held the week of June 5th. Learn more at californiasmp.org or by calling 1-855-613-7080. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-1216. 800-499-1216. 800-499-1216.
Results are not guaranteed and will vary based on your individual situation.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is Wealthy Wednesdays, where we have our regular conversation with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, both a minister, a teacher, and a practicing lawyer. He has one foot in the pulpit, one foot in the courtroom, both feet in reality, and he is an exceptional thinker, relied upon by most human rights organizations in the country for solid advice. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
You make me think a whole lot, and I have to remember what I just thought about when we get off the line. So I'm trying to take good notes.
Well, I do want to press this point before we get to your word of hope just a little bit further. I was thinking during the break that obviously California plays a major role in this, and I was wondering, has there been any update on the NAACP's boycott efforts with respect to our representation and or loss of representation after Louisiana versus Calais? Anything new that's being reported upon by the NAACP? Any progress?
I have not heard. I think there might be a lot of internal strategizing. We see that the Supreme Court is not inclined to disrupt whatever the efforts are. And so we really are in an all-out engagement process, right? Registration, education, mobilization, participation mode, right? And it's not that it's just about a candidate. It's actually about a plan, an agenda. And I went back and I looked, and I hear you. California is significant because it has a number of key votes, key delegates, right? Electoral college votes that are reliable. The other side is basically conceded California because they don't believe you got to have California to win. And they haven't had California to win. Jimmy Carter in 1976 did not win California, and he got 297 electoral college votes. And so to help us get focused on what determines the outcome is the message
that speaks to the reality on the ground and who has done the better job of speaking to the people, not talking about the people, not talking at the people, and then gets them to participate. Typically, you only get other, with a few exceptions, 2008 being among them. And then more recently, I think because of the influence of social media and the like, typically even in a presidential year, in a presidential cycle, you weren't really getting close to 60% overall turnout on a consistent basis. And so we still have work to do, even if we're thinking, all right, based on the demographics, California, New York, these other places that have these large pockets of votes, electoral college votes, should be in play. At the end of the day, there are a few ways to get to 270. We don't do ourselves good service by saying that this one state that may be associated with this one candidate or multiple candidates is our only path. And so what is the path is wherever you have our folk, black folk, we need to be having that conversation in real time. The first time we really got involved in the electoral process at the end of the Civil War, we didn't have a party affiliation. But what we did have was an expectation that the needs for the recently liberated, formerly enslaved persons would be spoken to. If we're real clear on what we want, right, we can then have a conversation about who we want to make sure that we get what we want.
Just before we get to your word of hope, I wanted to add this point. My opinion, we need a major voter registration drive in about 10 of the states from Virginia around to Texas, in about 600 of the 3,500 counties in the country, 3,500 or so counties in the United States, but we need to be specific, not just registering voters in South Carolina or North Carolina or Mississippi or Alabama. We can't afford to miss a county within the states, which means we got to go talk to some of these MAGA-ites who were first MAGA, but now need and are giving serious consideration to the direction of the nation under the present leadership, to give them a chance to move, to become independent in their thinking. And we don't do that by listening to the fights on CNN or MSNBC. We do that by engaging these states, these voters directly, and we go talk to them. We develop relationships with them. And I'd like to see the candidates move in that direction. I don't have the platform to do it, but the candidates themselves do have the platforms to do it. They have to have an interest in doing it. Dr. Ury, it's been a tough week for everybody. A word of hope, sir.
Well, the word of hope is welcome to life. As long as we've been here, we've had to carve out good times out of bad times. As we were talking today, I was thinking about the theme song to that beloved show that informed so many of our developmental years. I won't call them childhoods anymore. When we would see the L going around Cabrini Green in Chicago, ain't we lucky we got them? Good times. Easy credit and ripoffs and all of that kind of stuff, right? How we try to navigate a quality of life that is kind of distinct from the circumstances. If we were really given a fair shake, things would be much different. But we don't disengage simply because the resistance is fierce and the obstacles are high. Scripture says it this way in Deuteronomy, somewhere around chapter 30. There's a choice. We're always presented with the choice. And the choice is, I set before you life and death. Choose life. Life means that we're always engaged, always inspired, always focused. Do we always get what we want? No. But we don't let the fact that sometimes the rules make things a little more difficult cause us to say we concede before the game is over. At the end of the day, the mat is no place for a champion. You get up, you dust yourself off, you get back in and you keep on fighting.
and you win this game one round at a time.
I'm Jesse
We're
Jackson.
climbing Jacob's ladder.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Dr. S. Todd Yeary on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on Thought Provoking Thursdays. Until tomorrow, and when we come forward, more on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica